And tonight there's a major break in the case. Sheriff's deputies say they've made an arrest in the shooting death of a 7-year-old little girl in Pontiac. And while the suspected shooter, 2 men suffered non-life-threatening injuries and have since recovered. 4 of the 7 suspects arrested are expected to be charged this week. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office is looking for an 8th suspect. This man, 19-year-old Emmanuel Gates, he's considered armed and dangerous.
4 people on a front porch when bullets start to fly. Now to the gunman. Detectives say he is a 32-year-old resident of Pontiac who turned himself in. But many are still wondering who the trigger man was targeting and why.
Police have just left the scene, but the investigation is far from over. Sources tell us that they may be looking for as many as 3 gunmen. I want you to take a look at this video. What you're looking at is a flyer for the event at which the shooting happened. It was an event put on by event promoters GME and LBM. It was called the Roll-Up Christmas Skating Party.
A huge brawl broke out at Pontiac High School.
We're told an estimated 30 students were involved, causing the school to go under lockdown. The school security even had to call sheriff's deputies for help.
That fight ultimately led to several arrests. 7 actions.
Pontiac, Michigan, Oakland County's seat rose where the Saginaw Trail crossed the Clinton River, officially settled in 1818 and named for the Odawa leader Chief Pontiac. It grew into a Midwest auto powerhouse with GM truck and bus and the Pontiac Motor Division, and later the Pontiac Silverdome. Former home of the Detroit Lions and site of record-setting events from WrestleMania 3 to a papal mass. The city has produced a wide range of notable figures, including baseball legend Kirk Gibson, jazz greats Thad Jones and Elvin Jones, academic leader Lawrence Bacow, and rapper, content creator DDG, who parlayed Pontiac roots into mainstream music and digital stardom. In this roundup, we break down recent public safety stories tied to gang activity and group violence, the 4-block gang indictment, the music video gas station shootout that produced felony charges, a drive-by spree takedown with multiple suspects and conspiracy counts, the Roladium roller rink case that ended in long prison terms, a Carriage Circle triple homicide resulting in multiple life sentences, and a Pontiac High School hallway brawl that triggered arrests and a campus lockdown. Taken together, these cases show how investigators, prosecutors, and school leaders are responding on the street, in the courtroom, and on campus.
Gun violence, tragedy. When shots ring out in the city of Pontiac, 3 men are killed and another seriously injured. It happened Wednesday night outside the Carriage Circle apartment complex. The motive? According to the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, an ongoing dispute between neighbors and a feud between the men going back to 2014.
When her friend called me crying, they didn't have to say anything. I knew it was my brother.
Her baby brother, Kendrick Lanehart.
Then trouble came. And from my understanding, the trouble wasn't meant for him.
4 people on a front porch when bullets start to fly. Now to the gunman. Detectives say he is a 32-year-old resident of Pontiac who turned himself in. But many are still wondering who the trigger man was targeting and why.
On August 26, 2020, deputies responded to multiple 911 calls at the Carriage Circle and Spring Lake Village apartments in Pontiac. They found 4 male victims on a porch inside the home and on the front lawn. 3 were pronounced dead, 1 at the scene, 2 at the hospital. A 25-year-old man survived with serious injuries. Detectives determined the shooting stemmed from a long-running neighbor dispute, including a 2014 assault, and that all 4 victims were on the shooter's porch. The suspect stepped outside with a handgun, opened fire, and left. Shortly after, he turned himself in at the sheriff's Pontiac substation. The firearm believed to be used was recovered on the 700 block of Whitmore. Kenneth Durrell Clay of Pontiac was charged with 3 counts of first-degree premeditated deletion, assault with intent to delete for the surviving victim, felon in possession of a firearm, and 4 counts of felony-firearm. A jury convicted Clay in April 2022. He received life in prison on each deletion count, 30 to 60 years for assault with intent to delete, 4 to 30 years for felon in possession, and 4 separate 2-year felony firearm terms to run consecutively to the underlying sentences.
Police have just left the scene, but the investigation is far from over. Sources tell us that they may be looking for as many as 3 gunmen. I want you to take a look at this video. What you're looking at is a flyer for the event at which the shooting happened. It was an event put on by event promoters GME and LBM. It was called the Roll-Up Christmas Skating Party, and it was for people 18 and over. There was supposed to be no alcohol served. There was music and skating, 200 to 300 people taking part. When we're told that gunmen came in and started shooting after a fight, and as many as 6 people were injured. Now, police are not commenting at this time, but the owner of the Roladium says that it was all caught on surveillance camera, and that investigators are reviewing that surveillance camera, that they have a very good look at who the gunmen are. And while police are not commenting on what happened, he described what witnesses told him happened.
Police said a gang-related shooting on December 23rd at the Roladium Skating Center wounded 5 people during the close of a private pre-Christmas party. Roughly 290 people were inside when 3 gunmen opened fire in what investigators described as a clash between 2 rival Pontiac gangs. One of the 5 wounded victims had also been shot in 2010 in a separate nightclub incident linked to rival gang members. Early on, detectives warned that relatives might be harboring suspects. Waterford Township Police obtained arrest warrants for Cheyenne Ingram and Robert Lee German of Pontiac on counts including assault with intent to deletion, conspiracy, and firearm offenses. A third shooter, Trey Andrus Jamison, was later identified by investigators, tried before a jury, and convicted on multiple counts, including conspiracy to commit first-degree deletion and assault with intent to deletion. He was sentenced to 21 to 70 years in prison September 2012. Trey Andrus Jamison tried alongside Ingram before a separate jury, also convicted on parallel counts and sentenced to 21 to 70 years September 2012. Robert Lee German, captured after months as a fugitive and later pleaded no contest February 2013 to charges including conspiracy to commit deletion and assault with intent to deletion. His sentence included life with a possibility of parole on the conspiracy count, 225 months to 70 years on each assault with intent to deletion count, 2 years on each felony firearm count to run consecutively to the underlying felonies, and 3 to 5 years for carrying a concealed weapon.
One student involved in the fight says it all started when someone bumped into his brother, but it seems trouble had been brewing.
My sons, they've been in the back of the police car for almost going on an hour, and ain't nobody letting us know nothing.
Liddell Mosley rushed to Pontiac High School around 11:30 this morning after getting a call from one of his daughters telling him that his 2 sons, a 14-year-old and a 19-year-old, were involved in a huge fight after getting jumped on. The officers were able to break up the large fight and call in Oakland County Sheriff deputies for assistance. We're told school administrators placed the school on lockdown. The sheriff office says their deputies were able to restore order and then began sorting it all out. We're told 5 students were arrested.
A school resource officer at Pontiac High School radioed for help as a large fight broke out in the rear corridors. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office dispatched multiple deputies along with the Air 1 helicopter to the campus. Deputies moved students away from the incident area, restored order, and the school was placed on lockdown while hallways were cleared and the scene was stabilized. A total of 5 students were taken into custody. 2 older students, 17 and 18, were booked into jail on assault and battery charges. One 16-year-old was transported to Children's Village on a disorderly conduct charge. 2 others, 15 and 14, were released to their parents pending further action. Administrators and deputies said the fight appears tied to a long-running dispute between 2 groups of students, not a random outbreak. Roughly 100 students were congregating in nearby hallways when the brawl kicked off, which contributed to the rapid law enforcement response and the temporary lockdown.
7 men are now in custody connected to a series of drive-by shootings in Pontiac. Well, it happened January 3rd at a public parking lot near Wayne and Lawrence. 2 men suffered non-life-threatening injuries and have since recovered. 4 of the 7 suspects arrested are expected to be charged this week. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office is looking for an 8th suspect. This man, 19-year-old Emmanuel Gates, he's considered armed and dangerous. A $1,000 reward is being offered for information leading to his arrest.
Oakland County Sheriff's deputies say a team of 15 detectives spent about 8 hours on Saturday rounding up 7 suspects tied to a string of drive-by shootings in Pontiac and likely prevented additional attacks. Sheriff Michael Bouchard called the arrestees extremely dangerous, noting one suspect rammed a patrol car while fleeing and was found with a loaded handgun. According to investigators, most of prior illegal gun cases yet were back on the street. Detectives believe the group is connected to multiple January drive-bys, including a January 3rd shooting in a public parking lot near Wayne and Lawrence, and another a few blocks from 50th District Court where 4 men allegedly tried to ambush residents in a car while driving behind the Waterman building on Saginaw Street. Hours after that incident, deputies spotted a gray minivan at a gas station with 4 men whose clothing matched witness descriptions. They denied involvement and no charges were authorized then.
If you're willing to take out a 7-year-old in a senseless act, you need to be in prison.
7-year-old Aria Jackson was Friday when investigators say an orange Chevy Blazer drove by this home. Oakland County Sheriff's Office says a passenger hung out the window and fired 8 shots. Aria, just getting home from school, was still in the car and was hit in the back of the head.
That's 17-year-old Jawan McDonald, 17 years old. A $10,000 reward being offered for tips leading to an arrest.
19-year-old Justin Rouser is a member of the 4-block street gang. He was arraigned today on 10 felony charges, including...
In March 2022, a drive-by shooting in Pontiac left 7-year-old Aria Jackson dead. Authorities said Aria was riding in her mother's car when an orange SUV pulled alongside and opened fire. The child was struck and fatally wounded, while the suspects fled. After a multi-agency manhunt involving the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, FBI, and ATF, investigators identified 3 young men tied to the local 4-block gang. Justin Rouser was charged as the alleged triggerman, accused of firing while masked. Yawan MC Donald was identified as the getaway driver. Both faced first-degree deletion and attempted deletion charges. A 3rd suspect, DeGiant Bryant, was arrested for allegedly lying to investigators and aiding the shooters. At Rouser's arraignment, prosecutors detailed his gang affiliation and stressed that the 4-block was recognized as a violent street gang. He was charged with 10 felonies, including deletion and multiple counts of assault with intent to delete, and held without bond. MC Donald, though still a juvenile, also faced murder charges and was prosecuted in connection with the same attack. Bryant faced obstruction-related charges for misleading authorities. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard called the shooting an act of gang violence that claimed the life of an innocent child, vowing to seek the maximum penalties available under Michigan law, including anti-terrorism statutes aimed at deterring gang-related deletions. The case underscored how neighborhood gang rivalries could erupt into indiscriminate violence with devastating consequences. A gang dispute that broke out during a music video shoot at a Pontiac gas station on July 28 escalated into a gunfight, according to the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office. William Hanley, of Pontiac, is accused of firing the first shot. He faces felony counts of assault with intent to do great bodily harm less than deletion, carrying a concealed weapon, and felony firearm charges that together could carry significant prison time. Damian Thomas, of Pontiac, and Devon Calhoun, of Southfield, are each charged with assault and battery for their role in the altercation. Prosecutors say Hanley, Thomas, and Calhoun were filming at the gas station when a fight broke out with a member of a rival gang. The victim attempted to leave, but the suspects followed. Hanley allegedly drew a handgun and fired at the man, who was not hit. The victim returned fire while retreating, and neither side was struck. Investigators later recovered multiple shell casings at the gas station and in a nearby neighborhood, showing the confrontation spilled beyond the original scene. Oakland County Prosecutor Karen M.C. Donald called the shootout irresponsible and dangerous, noting that even though no one was hit, the suspects' actions endangered the entire community. Taken together, these cases chart a clear pattern in Pontiac. Fast, intelligence-driven enforcement on the front end surges to stop retaliatory shootings, rapid multi-suspect warrants, and serious courtroom exposure on the back end conspiracy. assault with intent to delete, felony firearm, and in the worst cases, life sentences. Community safety work is happening in parallel school lockdown protocols, mediation, and targeted supervision because not every flashpoint is a gang beef, but any flashpoint can turn violent. Pontiac's story has always been bigger than crime industry, sports, music, and grit, and these outcomes underline a simple message. Coordinated policing plus consistent prosecution can narrow the space for armed group violence while the city focuses on its long-term revival.